Welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things magic. And in today's video, we are going to roll out with another episode of our Up and Up series. Today we are updating and upgrading Morophon the Boundless Human Legends. Welcome back, fans of MTG Burgeoning. Welcome back, fans of crossover series. Today is not Sunday. It is not Sunday Fun Day today. This is EDH Commander Thursday. However, when the Up and Up series comes into play, we are able to have these star-studded crossovers. So, Morophon the Boundless and the Human Legend build that the MTG Burgeoning community constructed many moons ago during a series of Sunday is Fun Day videos, we are going to take the opportunity to update and upgrade this Human Legend build piloted by Morophon the Boundless. And there is the deck that the MTG Burgeoning community spent many weeks putting together. And today we're going to rip it apart! Not necessarily rip it apart, but we are going to make some vast improvements that, for the life of me, some of them I'm not sure why we didn't originally include them. Others, maybe they're a little more subtle. And even then with others, maybe their cards weren't available or some new copies of cards came out. That's definitely what's a part of this Up and Up event. So let's begin. In a deck that is featuring 5 colors, such as our Morophon the Boundless Human Legends build, it seemed more than appropriate to include as many lands as possible that can give us as many colors as possible. And for the life of me, I can't understand why we did not include a copy of Command Tower. If anyone can recollect those conversations, please let me know in the comment section below and blast the crap out of me for not suggesting to put in a copy of the format's best land. Additionally, if we're playing a tribal build in 5 colors, why are we not including a copy of Path of Ancestry? Yes, it enters the battlefield tapped, but once we get through that little hurdle, we tap for 1 mana of any color because Morophon has all 5 colors in its color identity, and whenever we use that mana to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with our commander, which will be any creature in the deck, we scry 1. How did Path of Ancestry not make it into this Human Legend build? Next land up, Reflecting Pool. So, under the right circumstances, this acts as Command Tower number 2. We tap to add to our mana pool 1 mana of any type that a land we could control, that we control could produce. So, that could potentially be a second Command Tower. And land number 4, and this has some protection as well, Cavern of Souls. It enters the battlefield, we choose a creature type. We're choosing humans because this is a Human Legend build. This taps for a colorless mana, but this also taps for 1 mana of any color to our mana pool. And we can only spend this money to cast our Human Legend spells, but that spell cannot be countered. 1 copy of Cavern of Souls being included into this deck. And we are also going to include a copy of Exotic Orchard. Tap to add to our mana pool 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce. We're playing 5 colors, so as long as we're not sitting down against 3 to 5 other colorless commander decks, we're going to get some benefits out of including a copy of Exotic Orchard. And again, I don't know why these 5 weren't included to begin with. 5 more land inclusions. These will take a little less of an explanation than each of the previous 5, and that's going to be the entire cycle as we have them right now. Come on, camera, get in the game, baby. The 5 triomes. The Adatha, the Rogran, the Zagoth, the Savai, and the Ketria. Now, we are still including and keeping into this deck the 10 fetch lands, including the entire cycle of fetch lands, which we can fetch the triomes with the fetch lands. And additionally, we can also cycle this away if we don't need the land at the time. All 5 triomes are included as we await the last 5. So, 10 lands are going in. And you know how we feel about symmetry here at MTG Burgeoning. If 10 lands are going in, 10 lands are coming out, and I thought it would be appropriate to keep the 10 fetches, keep the 10 shocks, and keep the 5 basics. So the only other lands that we could choose, well, we're going to bring out the cycle of check lands. We can't fetch for these babies, and if we don't have the necessary basic land trigger, they will come into play. I'm sorry, the basic land type trigger, they will come into play tapped. Now, yes, the triomes come into play tapped regardless, but those are prime targets for our fetch lands, and we can't fetch any of the check lands. And of course, 4 out of the 5 lands here prior to installing these 5 triomes. 4 out of the 5 come into play untapped anyways. So I do believe that that is going to make a very good trade-off. 10 check lands out, these 10 lands going in. All right, so now let's move away from the land base, and now let's talk about some spells that are going to go in and replace some of the other spells that are in this deck. Now, for the purposes of symmetry, it was a little difficult to always say, okay, this creature is going to replace this creature, and this spell is going to replace this spell, and that was a little difficult just because we are playing with a very creature-heavy deck, and it just seemed that for some instances, some of the removal was a little light, so we included a little bit more removal by reducing the number of creatures overall in the deck. So let me explain it first. Okay, so for the purposes of clarity, we include a copy of Assassin's Trophy. Black and a green, destroy target permanent opponent controls. They get to search their library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield, one of the greatest removal spells in the format. That goes in. What comes out, which was originally put in there, is Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. CMC of 2, so I tried to keep the CMCs around the same for the most part. 2/2, each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands they control, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. And all the times I played with this deck, that last ability never happened once. So no Force of Wills, no packs, nothing like that. And the first ability, although it was helpful once in a while, I think an Assassin's Trophy would be much more helpful than a Lavinia Azorius Renegade, and I feel comfortable making that switch. Staying on theme with removal, 1 copy Beast Within. Playing 5 colors we're open to every particular removal spell in the history of Magic. So I like to play with removal that just says destroy target permanent. Hence Assassin's Trophy, hence Beast Within, and after we're done with Beast Within, hence Beast Within version 2.0. Particularly like the fact that it's just 1 green, just like the Assassin's Trophy is 1 black and 1 green, again trying to optimize our mana in a 5-color deck. So Beast Within in, out, Azusa Lost But Seeking. 2 and a green, she lets us play 2 additional lands on each of our turns. Now we're only running 35 lands in the deck, so on average it's a little less than one land every 3 cards that we draw. And Azusa did not seem to click enough to warrant her in this deck. If you were playing with a deck that had over 40, 45 lands, then yeah, I could definitely see Azusa getting a lot more value for her deck slot. But honestly, I think I'd rather have the Beast Within than Azusa, particularly because from a human legend standpoint, she doesn't give anything to the team. So Beast Within and Azusa out. Removal spell number 3. Whoa, way off the camera there. Generous Gift. Beast Within version 2.0. Does everything that Beast Within does, except it leaves an elephant and not a beast. Coming out in place of the Generous Gift going in, coming out is going to be our copy of Lifecrafter's Bestiary. In order to inflate our number of removal spells, we have to deflate some of our other spells, and that meant a couple of creatures coming out, and that also means a little bit of our ramp coming out too, and Lifecrafter's Bestiary has to fit that mold. It does allow us to scry one at the beginning of our upkeep and gives us the ability to draw a card by casting a creature spell if we pay green. But again, for the overall purposes of trying to balance this deck, I prefer a Generous Gift over a Lifecrafter's Bestiary. And again, trying to keep the CMCs as close as possible. And so far, we are perfect in that regard. All right, so next up we have, still with our removal, we are going to include one copy of Ruinous Ultimatum. Now, I know it's a 5-color deck and the triple white could be tough, but I'm willing to risk it because of what the payoff is. Destroying all non-land permanents of our opponents, that's huge, and I'm willing to risk trying to fix the mana, and I think we fixed it enough already. I think we'll be able to pull off a Ruinous Ultimatum in a 5-color deck. More on that to come, so we shall see. Taking the place of Ruinous Ultimatum is taking the place of Kindred Dominance. 5 and 2 black. It's a sorcery, so again, the CMC is 7, but this is choose a creature type and destroy all creatures that aren't of the chosen type. I don't need to do anyone any convincing to say that Ruinous Ultimatum is a better card than Kindred Dominance. Now, the double black here and the triple white there, we're going to see through game testing gameplay. We'll report back and, well, we'll see what happens. All right, so now we're going to shift away from removal spells, and we're just going to go straight creatures the rest of the way. There's only 5 more additions that we're going to make. And the first one is going to be a copy of Kolvori, God of Kinship. It's a 2 and 2 green. It's a legendary creature, but it's not a human, it's a god. So this one we have to think a little bit outside the box. I mean, we already do have a couple of creatures included in this build that are not humans that help our humans out. So let's see what Kolvori, God of Kinship, can do. She's got a 2/4 body, and as long as we control 3 or more legendary creatures, which should not be a problem, she gets +4/+2 and has Vigilance. So under the right circumstances, for a CMC of 4, we're getting a 6/6 Vigilant creature. That is really good. That's God territory right there. Haha, because its creature type is God. Additionally, she has an ability that we can tap 1 in a green, tap, and look at the top 6 cards of our library. We may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into our hand. So this allows us to dig through the top 6 of our library, get a creature card, get it into our hand, and we do not have to do this anytime we cast a sorcery. So we can do that at any time. So just the front part of Kolvori is great. However, if we unsleeve her real quickly and take a look at her other side, she also has an artifact spell that costs 1 in a green called the Ringheart Crest. And when it enters the battlefield, we choose a creature type. Of course, we would choose humans. Tap for a green, and spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or a legendary creature spell. That's pretty much almost all of the spells that are in this deck. So Kolvori acts as a beatdown creature. She acts as a potential for, what am I saying here? A beatdown creature. She is a creature digger, as we are able to use her one in a green ability to get a creature from the top 6 as long as it's meeting the qualifications. Plus we can always cast her for the 1 in a green artifact, which is just additional ramp, which is always going to be needed in a 5-color deck. So Kolvori going in, Triad of Fates coming out. 2 white and a black. 3/3, just slow. The fate counters are slow. We can't do it right away. We can only do it 1 per activation. Triad of Fates is just too slow for what we're trying to do, and I think Kolvori is a much better upgrade over Triad of Fates. All right, creature inclusion number 2. She was just not available to us the first go around, but she is now, and I'm very happy for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Queen Marchesa. 1 red, white, and a black. Legendary human assassin. 3/3 death touch haste. When she ETBs, we become the monarch. And at the beginning of our upkeep, if an opponent is the monarch, we create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with death touch and haste. So Queen Marchesa will allow us to hopefully get the monarch, and more hopefully hang on to it. Queen Marchesa is going to replace Sidri, Galvanic Genius. For an Esper, she's a 2/2. Tap a blue, target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to its converted mana cost till end of turn. And then white and black, destroy target white and a black, target artifact creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. Just not enough interaction, just not useful enough. She just wasn't doing it for us. And I think Queen Marchesa is a much better addition than Sidri is. All right, staying with creatures, of course, from here on out, we have one copy of Realm Walker. This is going to be perfect for us. 2 and a green, it's changeling, so it is a human. When it enters the battlefield, we choose a creature type, which of course will be human. We may look at the top card of our library at any time, and we may cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of our library. So of course we're going to pick human, and we are going to cast humans all day and all night long. Realm Walker will be replacing Silas Wrenn, Seeker Adept. 2/2 Death Touch. Whenever it dealt combat damage to a player, we can choose an artifact card in our graveyard, and we may cast that card this turn. It just did not come up enough organically to make sense keeping it in the deck. We didn't have the ability to get as many artifacts into the graveyard. This is not an artifact recursion or artifact sacrifice deck. Silas Wrenn, Secret Adept is a strong creature, just not in this particular build. So Silas is out, the Realm Walker is in. Similar to Queen Marchesa, this was a creature that was just not available to us at the time, but it is now. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you General Kudro of Drannith. 1 white and a black. It's a 3/3 human legend. And other humans we control get +1/+1, and whenever he or another human enters the battlefield under our control, we can exile a target card from an opponent's graveyard. We can tap 2, sacrifice 2 humans to destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. Now that last ability is not extremely favorable. I mean, we're not playing a token deck here. We just don't want to willy-nilly throw our great human legends into the graveyard, but it's nice to know that we have that ability if needed, just by tapping 2, sacking 2 of our guys to destroy a creature that, for all intents and purposes, may be much more troublesome or problematic than the 2 we're sacrificing. So General Kudro is welcomed into this deck with arms wide open. And the General will replace Calcian the Plague. For a Mardu, it's a 2/2 with Vigilance and Haste. Gets +1/+1 for each experience counter we have, and we can tap Calcian to deal 1 damage to target creature we don't control, and when that creature dies this turn, we get an experience counter. Just too much work to get the experience counters to happen. In a dedicated experience deck with Calcian as the commander, I can foresee it being a lot more valuable, maybe more preferable to have Calcian in the 99 or as the General, but in this build, General Kudro will do more heavy lifting than Calcian will. All right, so now this is the card that is going to. This is the card. Let's just put it that way. So before we showcase the last addition to this deck, let me explain the 2 cards, one of 2 cards that I would elect to take out. The first, if you're planning to put this card in the 99, the card I'm taking out is Shabraz, the Sky Shark. 3 white and a blue. It's a 3/3 flyer, and whenever we draw a card, we put a +1/+1 counter on Shabraz, and we gain a life. Tapping a white or a blue, target human gains flying until end of turn. So yes, there's some human interaction available with Shabraz. It's a little outside the box. It's a little bit of a stretch to really make a strong case to keep Shabraz in a dedicated human deck if there are more viable options. So as I stated previously, if this last card we're including is going in the 99, Shabraz is the card that I would take out. So let's put Shabraz in the discard pile, and then here is the caveat to this very last card. The last card I'm going to preview would be an absolutely amazing replacement commander to Morophon. Now, I know Morophon is the pilot of this deck. I know we built the deck around Morophon. Sunday Fun Day, I get it, the whole series. I understand that completely, but that was before Kaldheim released. And in that set is what I can only describe as the perfect general for this EDH deck. And that's Esika, God of the Tree. Both sides of Esika will be absolutely amazing in this deck. So let's start with the creature side. For 1 and 2 green, it's a god. It is not a human. It's a 1/4 vigilance that can tap for 1 mana of any color. So that's great. More ramp in a 5-color deck. Other legendary creatures we control have vigilance and tap to add 1 mana of any color. Nearly every creature in this deck is a legend. This is a human legend build that was piloted by Morophon the Boundless. And now Esika comes onto the scene and says, I can be your 5-color commander. I can come in and tap for 1 mana of any color, and I can give every other legendary human you have that same ability and vigilance. Which means combat with vigilance and then casting spells on our post-combat main phase. Esika, just with that ability alone, is amazing. And honestly, it's very difficult to justify keeping Morophon in this kind of a deck. Human Legend build, Esika does it better. And that's just the front side. Let's unsleeve Esika and let's reveal the Prismatic Bridge. The Prismatic Bridge is white, blue, black, red, green, and it's a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of our upkeep, reveal cards from the top of our library until reveal a creature or planeswalker card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest on the bottom of our library in a random order. So if we're not casting Esika as the god from the command zone, we are casting the Prismatic Bridge from the command zone. And once in play, if it's not interacted with through removal, then at the beginning of our upkeep, we are revealing cards until we get one of our creatures from our library right onto the battlefield. So it gives us a free creature spell every time. You've seen the legends that are in this deck. If you peruse the deck list through tappedout.net and previous episodes of this series, you know the high quality of humans that are in this deck. And this is where the two-tone caveat comes in. As I said, if you want to keep Esika in the 99, Esika is going to replace Shabraz. If we are going to do the play that I think would be the best to make, then we take Esika and we replace Morophon the Boundless with Esika, God of the Tree. The final decision has not yet been made. I am going to task the MTG Burgeoning community with that decision. Do we add Esika to the 99, knocking out Shabraz? Or do we knock Morophon from the top of the general spot, replacing him with a legendary god that can just do it so much better than Morophon the Boundless? Fans of MTG Burgeoning, that is your task. Let me know in the comment section below, what choice would you make? And this is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.